Patricia Owens told herself later that she had been distracted, that her book was good, that the boarding noise was just boarding noise, that she could not have known. She told herself a lot of things on the drive home from the airport. None of them entirely held. She had been in 3C for 6 minutes when the boy walked up the aisle. He was 12, maybe 13, slight, in a pressed white Oxford and dark trousers, a rolling carry-on behind him, a printed boarding pass folded once in his left hand. He moved without hurry, checked the row numbers the way a careful traveler checks them, and stopped at 2A. He lifted his bag into the overhead bin with both hands, settled it, and sat down. Neat, quiet, alone. Patricia noticed him the way she noticed most things on Celestia Airways regional flights. Briefly, then not at all. She had a window seat and a good novel and 40 minutes to Hargrove City. She opened to her page. She heard Renata before she saw her. Renata Solis was the lead attendant on this flight, a tall woman with a laminated smile that did not quite reach her eyes. Patricia had watched her work before. She was efficient, brisk, the kind of attendant who treated first class like a curation problem, a matter of keeping the right people comfortable and the wrong people moving along. "Excuse me." Renata stopped at row 2. Her voice was pleasant the way a closed door is pleasant. "Can I see your boarding pass?" The boy held it up without standing. Renata took it, studied it longer than a scanner would have, and handed it back. "I think there may have been a mix-up at the gate," she said. "Coach is through the curtain. I'll walk you back." "My seat is 2A, the boy said. His voice was level. He did not raise it, did not repeat himself twice. He said it once clearly and waited. "I understand, but some system sometimes reassigns. The boarding pass says 2A. The seat says 2A. He held the pass toward her again. "My name is Marcus Lowe. My grandfather booked this ticket 3 days ago." Renata took the pass a second time. She looked at it. She looked at him. Something moved across her face. Not cruelty exactly. More the particular confidence of a person who has decided, before any evidence, that they already know the answer. "Just give me a moment," she said, and walked forward to the galley. Patricia watched over the top of her book. She told herself it was probably a systems error. These things happened. Renata returned 2 minutes later with the same pleasant closed-door expression. "I've checked with the gate, and we're going to get you sorted in 14B. Much more comfortable for a young traveler. More room." She reached up and unlatched Marcus's carry-on from the overhead bin before he had said a word. Marcus stood. He did not argue. He took his bag from her hands with quiet, careful fingers and walked back through the curtain. Patricia watched him go. She turned back to her book. She told herself someone would sort it out. The gate agent, another attendant, someone. No one did. 40 minutes into the flight, Patricia noticed the boy again. He had come back through the curtain, not in distress, not in tears, but walking with the same unhurried deliberateness he'd had when he boarded. He stopped at the galley entrance and waited until Renata turned. "There's an indicator light on the panel above row 9, he said. "The amber one on the left. It's been cycling, on for about 4 seconds, off for 2, for the last 11 minutes. I looked it up on my phone. It corresponds to a hydraulic pressure sensor on the Celestia 700 series. I thought someone should know." Renata looked at him the way people look at a child who has interrupted an adult conversation. "The crew monitors all instrument readings from the cockpit," she said. "Thank you, I know. I just thought. We have it covered." She turned back to the galley. Marcus stood there for 1 more second. Then he nodded, once, and went back through the curtain. Patricia lowered her book. She had heard every word. She was looking at the galley entrance, at Renata's back, at the curtain settling behind the boy, and she felt something she did not want to name. She turned to the woman in 3B, who was asleep. She looked at the man in 2C, who was wearing headphones. She looked back at her book. She did not read another word of it. 14 minutes later, Marcus came forward again. "I'm sorry to keep bothering you," he said, "but the interval has changed. It's now on for 2 seconds, off for 1. The pattern shift is in the manual as a stage 2 alert. My grandfather is a retired Celestia engineer. He taught me to read these things." Something in the word engineer made Patricia look up. Renata's expression had not changed, but her hand had stopped moving. "I'm going to ask you to return to your seat," she said. "I will," Marcus said. "I just need you to tell the captain. That's all I'm asking." There was a pause. Renata reached for the interphone. Patricia would think afterward that it was the word captain that changed her. Or maybe it was the boy's voice, the same level, patient, unembarrassed clarity both times. The voice of a person who is not trying to cause a scene, who only wants to be heard. She thought about what she had watched happen at the start of this flight. She thought about the boarding pass folded once in his left hand. She set down her book. "Excuse me," she said clearly enough for the galley to hear. "I heard him report it the first time, too. 14 minutes ago." Renata looked at her. Then she picked up the interphone. The cockpit went quiet for 40 seconds. Then the captain's voice came over the PA, not the routine cruising altitude announcement, but a direct, unscripted address. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Devin Holt. We're going to make a precautionary diversion to Fairfield Regional while our maintenance team runs a systems check. This is a standard procedure, and there is no cause for alarm. I want to personally thank a passenger, Marcus Lowe, in seat 14B, who brought an instrument reading to our crew's attention. Marcus, your grandfather trained me 22 years ago. He'd be proud of you today. We'll have everyone on the ground shortly." The cabin went still. Then, slowly, the man in 2C pulled off his headphones. The woman in 3B woke up. A businessman 3 rows back leaned into the aisle and looked toward the curtain. Patricia stood up. She did not think about it. She walked back through the curtain and found Marcus Lowe in 14B, sitting with his hands in his lap, his carry-on above him, his face composed and turned toward the window. He looked up when she stopped at his row. "I heard you the first time," she said. "I should have spoken up then. I'm sorry I didn't." He looked at her for a moment. He was 12 years old, traveling alone to his grandfather's bedside, and he had been moved from his paid seat without cause, and ignored twice when it mattered most, and he received her apology with a dignity that cost him nothing and said everything. "It's okay," he said. "You spoke up when it counted." She was not sure that was true. She sat down in the empty seat across the aisle and stayed there until the wheels touched the runway at Fairfield. The maintenance team found a compromised hydraulic line connector, not yet critical, but 3 stages from requiring an emergency declaration. The diversion was the right call. The log would show that. Celestia Airways Regional Operations Director reached the gate at Fairfield within the hour. The full incident report was filed that evening. The unauthorized seat reassignment, the 2 dismissals of a passenger safety report, the timeline. Renata Solis was placed on administrative review, pending a conduct and safety protocol hearing. The director, standing at the gate with the captain, read the log entry aloud, and did not look comfortable doing it. Marcus Lowe boarded a Celestia courtesy flight to Hargrove City 90 minutes after landing. He traveled in seat 1A. The captain walked him to the door himself. His grandfather, the engineer who had spent 30 years teaching Celestia crews to read the panels and trust what they saw, was awake when Marcus arrived. The family said the boy sat beside the bed for a long time without speaking, just holding the old man's hand. Patricia Owens drove home in silence. She thought about a 12-year-old boy with a folded boarding pass and a level voice, standing in an aisle where no one was listening, saying the right thing twice. She thought about how long it had taken the room to hear him. She did not open her book for a week.